Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave with a cough drop in between my teeth. I took some Mucinex and I put some Vicks inside my nose and all kinds of stuff just to try to, slow the cough down a little bit. We'll see how it goes. I don't feel bad. It's just that I can't stop with the cough, and there's not much I can do about that. Anyway, I think we're going to have a good lesson this evening. A lot of people wrote to me and told me, or made comments, either one, about how much they liked the last lesson. Well, tonight's lesson will be almost exactly the same format. But we are going to be covering a little different ground in that we're going to be covering pattern number 2. Pattern 1, as you recall, was like G, C, D, and A, D, E, and things like that. Well, now we're going to move up to the middle 2 strings, and we're going to start on the middle 2 strings. Instead of starting on the bottom 2, we're going to start on the middle 2. And we're going to move down the fretboard that way. And it's just a different pattern. In fact, the pattern is reversed. It's still 1, 4, 5 in terms of the number system. So, like I said, almost every song on the whole planet has a 1, 4, 5. In fact, you could really argue that every song has a 1, 4, 5. Occasionally, one of those numbers will be left out, but generally speaking, the skeleton is still 1, 4, 5. So all we're doing is showing you the 1, 4, 5 in a different pattern, and that's really all it amounts to. There's only 2 patterns, chord patterns, that is. So let's just recap again on pattern number 1. Pattern number 1 is anytime you start on these bottom 2 strings, it doesn't matter where you start. Just remember that. It doesn't matter where you start. Anywhere. The pattern is exactly the same. So right here is 1, 4 is right above it. When I say right above it, I mean in the same frets. It's just on the next 2 strings above it. So 1, 4, and there's 2 down is 5. Just that black and white simple. And you can play 19 billion songs with just those 3 chords if you wanted to. I mean, because 1, 4, 5 is pretty much in every song. So you could go 1, 4, 5 if you're down here in A. 1, 4, 5. Or if you're down here in B, 1, 4, 5. See, it's exactly the same, just moving down the fretboard. Okay, that's pattern number 1. We're not going to play pattern number 1 tonight. We're playing pattern number 2. It's exactly the same, it's just different. It's exactly the same, but it's in reverse. So in terms of the pattern, it's in reverse. And to make it simpler to explain, I'm going to start at D because C, there's one change, and that is the F has to be a different shape when you start in C. So instead of starting here and showing you the pattern, I'm just going to show you here in D. It just makes it a little more consistent. And we will get to C tonight, but I just wanted to start in the D because I think that's the easier way to learn it. So we're going to start at D. And so D is 1 then, because we're going to play these first couple of songs. We're going to play them in D. And then so 4 is, instead of, down here, from 1 you went to 4, right, like that. Well, from here on this, when you start in the middle, your 4 is down here down to the left. It's so where the G is, that's your 4. So from your D down to where your G is, that's your 4. And then you move up 2 frets to where your A is, and that's your 5. So in the key of D, your 1 is D, your 4 is G, and your 5 is A. And it's just that black and white simple. There's nothing more complicated about it than that. And it doesn't change. Like some people, I think, get to wondering, well, that can't be like that all the time. It's like that all the time. Everything, it never changes. So you got your 1, 4, 5. So that's when you start in D. Now we're going to play down in E also. So when you start down in E, 1, 4, 5. It's exactly the same shape, exactly the same pattern. You're just further down the neck. So 1 in E, E would be your 1. Your 4 would be A. And your 5 in this case would be B, B boy. So 1, 4, 5. And we might even go down to F. I think we will, in fact. And F is just one more fret past there. So it's the same shape. It's just different chords. And we'll get to that when we get to that. We will also get to C tonight. And C, again, is on these middle two strings. Now, you could play C down here. Don't get me wrong. You can play it down here. And then it's like pattern number 1. And I hope that doesn't confuse you, but you're starting on the bottom two strings in C. So the pattern would be the same as exactly as if you were in G. But up here, when you start in C, you're starting on the middle two strings. So your pattern is exactly like your pattern in D. The trick is that you run out of fretboard up here because you're up close to the end of the fretboard already in your C. So your 1 is C, your 4 is F, and all I'm doing is changing my shape to my F like this. So my first finger's right here, my second finger is right there, and my third finger's right there. Now you might say, well, I thought you said it never changes. Well, it only changes on the key of F when you're up here in C. That's the only time you change your position of your hand the way I'm teaching you. And technically it's not a change, because if you're at G, if you slide this down, this finger just doesn't have a place to go. That's your F. But instead of making it like that with these awkward 3 fingers, I just switch my fingers and just do it that way. If you understand my point. So it's really not an exception. It's just an exception. If you get my point, I think you can understand what I'm saying. It's really not a difference. It's just that you can't keep the same shape because you run out of fretboard. That's the only reason. But it really is consistent. It's the same. But this F is also a pretty sounding chord. It's just a pretty chord. So I like to play the F in this way rather than come all the way down here to play an F. So just a nice open sounding chord. So anyway, but we're not going to start off in C. But if we did, C would be 1, F would be 4, and G would be 5. It's exactly the same as the rest of them, just that you have to make that exception for the key of F, or the chord of F, I should say. All right. Hopefully that didn't confuse you too badly, hopefully. And we're going to start in D, and we'll keep it really simple on this first song. It's just going to be the same song. It's going to be one of the, I think this is the only song that maybe not. I think we might have repeated 1 or 2 other songs, but most of these are new songs tonight. But this song we did last time, and we did it in the other pattern. We're going to do it up in the pattern number 2 this time, and that's called Did Anybody Take Her Picture? And it's only a 2-chord song. We're going to start off slow here and build up. I've tried to put these songs in the order of easiest to most complicated, and I've got 11 songs here, so I don't know if we'll get through all 11 or not. One little bit of housekeeping is, if you feel like you're getting something out of these lessons and you want to donate to my cause, I would appreciate it. You don't have to, and I don't want your money if you're hurting for money. Trust me, I don't want it. But if you can afford it, if you want to make a super chat, that would be great. Or you can, and my preference would be that you just donate it to my email address through PayPal. So just go to PayPal and send money via email, and that would be great. But again, don't feel obligated. You don't have to. All right, we're in D. And so 1, 4, 5. But this song only has 2 chords. And if you remember my Nashville number system rules, whenever you have a 2-chord song, it's only going to be 1 and 5 almost all the time. There's hardly any exception to that, but there are exceptions. Hardly any, though. So anytime you have a 2-chord song, you can pretty much bet you're going to be playing 1 and 5. And that's all you're going to be playing, 1 and 5. That's so simple, you can't get no simpler than that. There's no way you can play a song any simpler than this song that we're about to play. Okay? All right, here we go. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I'd like to have just one more conversation, so I'll have to let a picture speak for her. I didn't know it was our last night together, the last time I'd see her alive. Side by side we watched that show together, but on that lonely road that night she died. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I'd like to have just one more conversation, so I'll have to let a picture speak for her. Yes, I'll just have to let a picture speak for her. Now, I'm hoping you got through that okay. Hopefully you're not struggling on that. But anyway, it's just your D and just your A, which is 1 and 5. That's simple. Black and white, that's simple. All right. Now, just for the purposes of recap, let's go back and show you that when we play the other pattern, it's still 1 and 5, okay? So let's go back to G just for a brief second. We're not going to do this any more than after this song. This is the only one we're going to just to show you that it is uniform. So if I tried to sing this in G, and I don't know if I can. Did anybody take her picture? 5. I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words. See, there's 1. I'd like to have just one more conversation. 5. And I'd have to let a picture speak for her. 1. See? So it's just 1 and 5, just like it was here. But now we're doing it starting on the middle 2 strings. So in this case, D is 1. Did he? Got to get back in the key. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I'd like to have just one more conversation, so I'll have to let a picture speak for her. Now, one more observation about the 2 different patterns that I just want to point out. You know, there's a lot of songs have a circle pattern where you just go around in a circle. 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5. Well, just using that as an example. That's not 100%. It's just an example, okay? So using 1 4 5 as an example, when we're in pattern 1, there's your 1, there's your 4, there's your 5. And if you notice, that's counterclockwise. If you were looking at it as if you were looking at this like a face of a clock, you're going around it backwards. So it's 1 4 5 1 4 5 like that. It's backwards. Now when you're in this pattern, pattern number 2, it's clockwise. So it's 1 4 5 1 4 5. I just want to make the distinction there so you see what I'm talking about. When I say it's exactly the same, it's just backwards. That's really all it is. 1 4 5 1 4 5. Okay? All right, so there you go. All right, so that was Did Anybody Take Her Picture? That's the easiest song we're going to be doing tonight. Every one of them beyond that is going to be 3 chords or possibly 4 chords if we get that far. Now, these 3 chord songs, I tried to pick out the easiest one and do the easiest one first. And quite honestly, several of my songs tonight are gospel songs. Now, I know most people like that, but there are some people who don't like the gospel songs. I didn't put them in there to turn anybody off or to turn anybody away. If you're not into the gospel songs, I'm sorry. I just using them because they fit what I'm trying to teach. And they're good songs on top of that. So there you go. So if you don't like it, you'll either just have to get over it or maybe set it out until we're back to what you want to play. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. It's not a political statement. It's just the way it is. So here we go. We're going to D. This one is a gospel song. It's called I Call It Home. And it's a beautiful song, and it's easy to play, really. So it's just 1 4 5. Now, I'm not sure about the order here. You'll just have to follow the order. But you can see it's D, G, and A, and that's all it's going to be. And I don't remember the order until I start playing it, so here we go. Somewhere beyond the great there is a land that Jesus went to prepare by his own hand, and for the saved by grace there is a resting place, and in a few more days it will be mine. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it dreaming, so let me dream on. Some call it paradise, somewhere beyond the skies. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Someone said you can't go back home again, and things will not ever be as good as they've been. Well, I've got good news for you. When heaven comes into view, one glimpse and you'll know the best is yet to come. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it dreaming, so let me dream on. Some call it paradise, somewhere beyond the skies. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Okay. Now you notice there I went back to that G for my recap. It's just the way it's done. It just adds power to it, and then you come back, and then you go to that 5 chord there too. Now that was what I call the pivot pattern. You notice it pivoted around 1. So you're going 1, and then you're going up to your 4, and you're coming back to your 1, and you're going to your 5. Now I'm not saying it did that through the whole song. I kind of think it did. I wasn't paying that close of attention, but especially at the beginning, that's what it did. It went 1, it went 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 5 type of thing. So that's kind of what I call the pivot pattern. It's pivoting around 1. And it can do that in either of my chord patterns. This is a song pattern we're talking about now. That it gets confusing because I'm using the same words and meaning 2 different things. Pattern is what I'm talking about there. So you got a chord pattern, which just means the shape of the way the chords move when you're starting on the middle 2 strings. And a song pattern is just the way the song is laid out. It's completely different things. But you use one to do the other. So you're using the chord pattern to play the song, if you will. The song pattern. Hope that makes sense. All right. Looks like we have 38 viewers right now. Hope we'll get some more on here. Cough drops dissolving, doing its job. All right, so let's move on to Fallen Leaves. Now this time we're going to move down from the D dog. We're going to move down 2 more frets, 2 frets higher. So your middle finger is in the it's in the 7th fret, or if you have a dot at your 3rd fret, it's in the 3rd dotted fret, but it's the 7th fret. Your middle finger. Your middle finger is what I call your chord finger. So that's kind of based around your middle finger on the mandolin. That's the way I think of it. So that note right there would be an E. Okay? So now again, it's the same 1 4 5. It's just that we're further down the neck. So it's 1 4 5. So 1 is E, 4 is A apple, and 5 is B boy. 1 4 5. Now this time we're going to play Fallen Leaves. Now as far as I remember, this is a complete circle pattern, I think. It's hard to remember them all. Here we go. Fallen leaves that lie scattered on the ground, the birds and flowers that were here cannot be found. All the friends he ever had are not around. They're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Some folks drift along through life and never thrill to the feeling that a good deed brings until it's too late and they are ready to lie down there beneath the leaves scattered on the ground. To your grave there's no use taking any gold. You can't use it when it's time for hands to fold. When you leave this earth for a better home someday, the only thing you take is what you gave away. Fallen leaves that lie scattered on the ground, the birds and flowers that were here cannot be found. All the friends he ever had are not around. They're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Recap. Yes, they're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Fallen leaves. All right. Well, as I said, they get a little bit more complicated with each song. This one's really not much more complicated. It's just that it's a little faster and it moves even further down the neck. We're going to play this one out of F. So we're moving from the E, we're just moving one more fret higher. That's all it is. So that means that your 5 is one more fret higher. So instead of A, it's now A sharp or B flat. B flat is what we typically call it. So it's B flat and it's C. So you got F, B flat, and C. F, B flat, and C. 1 4 5. So here we go. This is Man of Constant Sorrow. I am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen trouble all my days. I bid farewell to old Kentucky, the place where I was born and raised. Where place where he was born and raised. For 6 long years I've been in trouble. No pleasure here on earth I find. For in this world I'm bound to ramble. I have no friends to help me now. He has no friend to help him now. It's fare thee well, my own true lover. I never expect to see you again, for I'm bound to ride that northern railroad. Perhaps I'll die upon this train. Perhaps he'll die upon this train. I'm going to stop it there, but you get the idea. Very simple. It's really, I bet you didn't think that song was that simple, did you? Nothing to it. It's just mostly about how you sing it, how you hold out the words and things like that. It's more like a timing thing than it is anything on that song. It's just 1-4-5. Everything's 1-4-5. You'll finally figure that out here before too long. And I say that, but it truly is like that. Everything's 1-4-5. Then you'll add a 2 and you'll add a 6, that kind of thing. But it's still 1-4-5 is the base. You just add those extra chords in there. And as I've told you, and I hate to beat it to death, but you never know who's listening for the first time. But so my point is that even those extra chords you add in, they're always in the same relative place back to the 1. In other words, just like the 4 is always down and to the left when you're in this pattern, and your 5 is directly below your 1, just like that, your 2 is always in the same relative place, and your 6 is always in the same relative place. And of course, the 3 and the 7 are always in the same relative place also. So it's, once you learn these two patterns, you really know everything you need to know, believe it or not. I know it sounds like, yeah, right, can't be that simple. It's that simple. It's just that simple. So there's only two patterns. You just got to learn those two. You got to commit them to memory. Once you get that down, you got it. Then it's just practice. I mean, music itself is not easy. But what I'm teaching you here to get into the music, this is easy. This is not that difficult. It's in fact, I guarantee you there's no other way you'll ever learn it that'll be as simple as this. There's no way. So anyway, I wish you luck with it, because I know music's not easy, but this method is really pretty straightforward and simple. Okay, so now let's move on to yet another song. Now this one starts to get a little bit more complicated, only because we're going to go up to this C and we're going to go to that F. Now, if you haven't practiced making this F, well, you might be lost in this, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to lose you, but you'll just have to do the best you can. If you can't make the F and find it, just mimic like you're making it. Don't care how it sounds. Just pretend you're making it. And seriously, that's what I mean. I really do mean that. Keep your right hand in time with me. Don't worry about the fact that you missed your chord. That's not that big a deal. You can practice that and find that later. So we're going to be C, F, and G. So it's just C and G for, if you can't get that F, your main two chords that you do know how to get are your C and your G. And then that F is like that. Okay? Now I'm going to kick a little intro in this, and then you'll see me, I think it's going to go to the F first when I leave the 1. I think it's going to go to an F first, I think, but I'm not remembering every detail of these songs, you know what I mean? It's too much to keep track of. But anyway, I'm going to do a little intro on this one, and then we'll start it. Very little intro. I should have practiced. I can't be your fool anymore, darling. See, I was wrong. It goes to G. It's just not right to treat my heart this way. I can't be your fool anymore, darling. and a fool is what I'll be if I stay. I can't cry for you anymore, darling. It's just not right to treat my eyes this way. I can't cry for you anymore, darling. I got to put an end to yesterday. I can't be your fool anymore, darling. It's just not right to treat my heart this way. I can't be your fool anymore, darling. And a fool is what I'll be if I stay. Anyway, that's that song. So it's just C, F, and G. It's still 1, 4, 5. It's all it is. It's not any more complicated than that. It's just that you'll have to learn how to make that F if you haven't learned that already. Okay? All right, so there you go with that one. Let's move on to... this one's actually a fairly simple song. It's just a little faster, and I guess that's why I put it down here. We're going to go to D-Dog on this one. We're going to call this one the TB Blues. This is an old Jimmy Rogers tune, of course, that Jimmy wrote toward the end of his life. It wasn't the last song he wrote, but it was one of the last because this is the disease that killed him. My good gal's trying to make a fool out of me. Yeah, my gal's trying to make a fool out of me. Back to D-Dog. I lost my words. When it rained down, sorrow rained all over me, Lord, Lord. When it rained down, sorrow rained all over me. Now my body rattles like a train on the old SP. I got the TB blues. I got that old TB, I can't eat a bite. Got that old TB, Lord, I can't eat a bite. It's got me worried so, can't even sleep at night. And I got the TB blues. Oh, but the graveyard, it's a lonesome place. That old graveyard is a lonesome place. They turn you on your back, throw that dirt down in your face. I got the TB blues. When it rained down, sorrow rained all over me, Lord, Lord. When it rained down, sorrow rained all over me. Now my body rattles like a train on the old SP. I got the TB blues. I got the TB blues. Real simple. Just 145, 145. Like I said, I'm seriously, when I'm telling you, you can play 19 million songs with 145. I mean, you could never run out of songs. You could never run out. Okay, let's see. That was TB Blues. Now, this one's quite a bit harder, and I haven't done it in a long time. I should have practiced it. we'll see if we can get through it. I don't know. It's not harder because it's any more difficult in the sense that it's still just 1-4-5, but it changes fast and it goes back and forth between the 4 and the 5. It does it a lot, and it's pretty quick. So it's just a lot more difficult than the ones we've done so far in those terms. It's still just 1-4-5. So if you can just ignore the fact that I'm trying to scare you here and just play 1-4-5, you should be okay. Just follow me on this one. Let's see here. Well, I never felt more like singing the blues. I never thought I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do me this way? Well, I never felt more like crying all night. Everything's wrong and nothing ain't right without you. You got me singing the blues. The moon and the stars no longer shine. The dream is gone that I thought was mine. There ain't nothing left for me to do but cry all over you. Well, I never felt more like running away. I couldn't go, for I wouldn't stay without you. You got me singing the blues. Without you, you got me singing the blues. Just 1-4-5, but it just moves a whole lot faster. So, as long as you can do your 1-4-5 and do it fairly comfortably, that's not that tough of a song. You get it down. We'll do it one more time. Well, I never felt more. I'm going to sing a little bit faster. Well, I never felt more like singing the blues, 'cause I never thought I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do me this way? Well, I never felt more like crying all night. Everything's wrong and nothing ain't right without you. You got me singing the blues. The moon and the stars no longer shine. The dream is gone that I thought was mine. There ain't nothing left for me to do but cry all over you. Well, I never felt more like running away, but I couldn't go, for I wouldn't stay without you. You got me singing the blues. Without you, you got me singing the blues. That's how we bluegrass it up. We sing it a little faster like that. But anyway, there you go. It's not that tough. It's just a little trickier. Let's see. We've got about 4 more to get through here, according to my list. And each one gets probably just a little bit harder. Not much harder than that. That one's probably as hard as any of them really tonight, that one there. So this one's not quite as hard as that, I don't think. It's just that it's hard because we're back in C, and you got that F to deal with again. There's a little mountain church in my thought of yesterday, where friends and family gather for the Lord. There an old-fashioned preacher taught the straight and narrow way for what few coins the congregation could afford. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there to explain a few things. This is called the Little Mountain Church House. It was Song of the Year back in about 1994-ish. I don't know, around that time. Might have been earlier, might have been later. But anyways, in the early 90s, I think. And it was kind of unusual because Doyle Lawson had a hit on it and Ricky Skaggs had a hit on it at the same time. And it was kind of a unique thing. And it was named Song of the Year in Bluegrass. Well, anyway, what I wanted to show you about this is you notice on the F, when I go to that F, I hold it to the last note or the last word of that line. Lots of people go to that too early. So pay attention to that. So that's what I want to call your attention to. So listen to it carefully. Listen to when I go to the F. And if I don't screw it up, we'll do it right. So here we go. There's a little mountain church in my thought of yesterday, where friends and family gather for the Lord. There an old-fashioned preacher taught the straight and narrow way for what few coins the congregation could afford. Dressed in all our Sunday best, we sat on pews of solid oak. I remember how our voices filled the air, and how Mama sounded like an angel on those high soprano notes. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. At the old age Sunday singings, we'd have dinners on the ground. Many were the souls that were revived, while the brothers and the sisters who'd gone on to glory land slept in peace in the maple grove nearby. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. I first heard the word to base my life upon. Okay, Robert's asking questions about the F. What finger on what string for the F? Okay, well, I showed that earlier, but I don't know if you saw it or maybe you didn't get it. But anyway, if you're like at G, what I wanted to point this out again, the whole thing. This is not, it's long way around to show you what I'm doing. But if you're at G and you slid this down 2 frets so that this finger is now off the fretboard, that's the fingers right there. So you don't change. The shape of the chord is still the same. So like if you're at G, all you're doing is sliding it all the way down like that. And that'll tell you where your fingers go. Now what I do is I don't play it like that because that's awkward. So what I do is I just switch them like that. It's just faster and easier. At least it is for me. So I just switch them. They're in the same places as if you slid them down here. I hope that makes sense to you. So in other words, you just move everything that way 2 frets. So there you go. All right, so that's your F. Let's see. Let's go on to another song. We're going to run out of time here before we get through all these, but I wanted to get through all these because I think these are good songs to practice in this pattern for various reasons. And so this one is Senses. Now we're going back to D on this. It's called Senses. This one this is the first one that's got 4 chords. So this one's going to have a 2 chord. Now where is the 2 chord? If you remember the Nashville number system rules that I wrote, the 2 chord is always 2 notes higher than your 1. So if you're here, where would 2 notes higher be? It would be 1, 2. That's all there is to it. So it's just 2 frets higher. So there's your E. So that your E would be your 2 chord when you're in this pattern. And when you're in D, of course. So we're in D. So we're going to have D, G, A, and D. So 1, 4, 5. And we're going to jump up to a 2 chord at some point. And do you remember the Nashville number system rule? Where do you go after a 2 chord? And it's pretty much a black and white rule, not 100%, but most of the time, after a 2 chord, you're going to go to a 5. So you're going to go back down to your A again. After you do this chord, just get ready because you're going to go back down to your 5, from your 2. All right, so this is a really slow song, so you should be able to grasp it. It's just that it's harder because it has that extra chord. So this is really slow. The sense to see, and I saw you walk away. The sense to feel, and I feel lonely every day. I'm hitting both beats on this one, actually. It's just because it's so darn slow. But if I was playing in a band, I would only be hitting the downbeat like I normally do. So you'll just have to ignore the fact that I'm doing this. It's hard to break habits. And like when I'm playing by myself, you want that extra beat in there. You just want it, especially on one this slow. So, but if I was playing with the band, I wouldn't hit that extra beat, just so you understand. We've talked about this before. There's 4 beats. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 beats, to a measure. I don't know technical terms. But anyway, the mandolin is on 2 and 4 normally, and the bass is on 1 and 3 normally. So I'm hitting the additional odd numbers with this a little bit. So there, just so you know, because normally I only hit the 2 and the 4. The sense to see, and I saw you walk away. The sense to feel, and I feel lonely every day. The sense to take, the sense to hear, and I heard you. I better start it again. I'm sorry. It's a good song. It's a good one to learn. I just haven't practiced it. I apologize. It's hard to keep all these different things in your brain. If I was just focusing on the song, it wouldn't be a problem. The sense to see, and I saw you walk away. The sense to feel, and I feel lonely every day. The sense to hear, and I heard you say goodbye. 2 chord. Sense to taste. Now I taste these tears I cry. My senses are reacting much too slow. 'Cause it's over, but I don't have the sense to let you go. It doesn't make much sense for me to cry for you. Comes the 2 chord again. If I had any sense at all, I'd realize we're through. My senses are acting much too slow. 'Cause it's over, and I don't have the sense to let you go. Now there's an instrumental there followed by another chorus like there, but that's enough for the moment. We're going to go back from the top and do it again. I just think this is a really good example of a 2 chord within this pattern number 2, if you will. So we're going to do it again. the sense to see, and I saw you walk away. The sense to hear, no sense to feel, and I feel lonely every day. The sense to hear, and I heard you say goodbye. The sense to taste, now I taste these tears I cry. My senses are reacting much too slow. And it's over, but I don't have the sense to let you go. It doesn't make much sense for me to cry for you. Comes the two. But if I had any sense at all, I'd realize we're through. My senses reacting much too slow, 'cause it's over, but I don't have the sense to let you go. That's good enough. The point is that again, if you remember, one of my Nashville number system rules, if you will, and it's hard to call this a rule, but it's kind of a rule or just a thing that happens, is that whenever you go to that 2 chord, it always adds power and lifts that song up. Did you see how it lifted and pushed it up to that 5? I mean, you can hear it in the voice, you can hear it in the power of the song. That's how you can recognize that 2 chord. You can just kind of tell it's a 2 chord every time because it goes from 2 to 5 and it just pushes that song up and jumps it up to that 5. So anyway, I get a little lost because I keep trying to read comments while I'm singing, and that's what's confusing me. So maybe I ought to stop and look here and see if there's any comments I need to catch up on here before we go too much further. Dalton's asking what kind of pick I use. I absolutely love these blue chip picks. Now, I'll tell you, I never used this large 3-cornered pick until one of my viewers sent me one of these, and then another viewer sent me another one. I have 2 of these, and they're both exactly the same, and I absolutely love it now. I didn't like the big 3-cornered pick when I first started playing music, and for years, I mean up until 4 or 5 years ago, I never used one of these, but once they sent me this, I'm sold 100% on these picks. Blue Chip should sponsor me because I feel that strong about it. This is the best pick that was ever invented. I don't care whether you're even talking about a tortoiseshell pick, and I've had quite a few tortoiseshell picks, real tortoiseshell picks. And they're great, don't get me wrong, but they wear out really fast. Tortoiseshells do. This doesn't wear at all. And it's just about as good a sound as a tortoiseshell pick is. Not quite, maybe. Tortoiseshell's probably the best there is, but this is as good as it gets. Now, the problem is these are expensive as all get out. And before my viewers sent me this, I would never, and I mean absolutely 100%, you couldn't have pried me into it, I would never have bought one of these because I said, that is way too much money for a pick. But after my viewers sent me one and I used it, now I'll never be without one of these. If I lose these, I'm going straight to buy some more. There you go. So there's my endorsement of the blue chip pick. And no, I'm not sponsored, but I ought to be. Okay, so there's the pick. And I do like this large size now. I really don't like to go back to the little ones anymore. I really don't. I like this big pick now. It's just what you get used to, but I absolutely love this pick. And they don't wear out. I've been playing this hard for years, and The wear that you see on there is the wear that they put into it at the factory. There is no wear on this pick at all. Zero, none, not any. It's amazing. And I wear every pick out. Those blue Tortex picks I like pretty well. I wear those things out in 2 picking sessions. And I'm not kidding. I round them off. They're almost completely round by the time I'm done. This doesn't ever do that. So there you go. Kim Williford, it's okay to strum an extra strum when you're by yourself, especially without a drum machine on a song. Yep, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And that's all I was doing there, was just trying to keep a little extra time because it's so darn slow. On a faster song, you don't really have to do that. But on a slow song like that, it just feels better. Kim Williford again. Matt, that's okay. It comes with practice, not to hit D string. Yeah, you got to not hit this open string when you're up in this middle thing. It's just, and again, to do that, I should have probably talked about that tonight. I'm glad you brought that up. But, I'm not doing this. I'm not strumming up and down. I'm a flick of the wrist. It's more, I'm exaggerating it obviously, but I'm flicking the wrist so that I'm swiping the first 3 strings, but by the time I get to the bottom one, I'm coming up. So that's what I'm doing. It may not look like it, but that's what I'm doing. So that way you don't hit it. See, I'm not hitting it. And besides that, I'm heavy on the bass that way, and that's a good thing because mandolins always sound too thin anyway, so you get more bass out of your instrument that way. So it's a good thing for your chop anyway. There you go. So that's what I'm doing. Now, even when I'm down here on these chords, I'm still doing that same kind of a roll. I'm still doing the same kind of a flick of a wrist. By the way, bluegrass is too fast to be doing this. It's just too fast. You can't do that. You got to learn how to do it. You got to learn how to, economize your movements, if you will. And that's how you do it. You're just flicking your wrist. Okay. Kim says, am I correct? What I told Matt about hitting the D string while the E chord. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the D string. The E string is the one I'm thinking is you don't want to hit it because it would be open. That's an open string, and you just don't want to hit the open string. They just ring too much. So you're just flicking the wrist. So maybe I'm not following you there. I'm a bad reader. I read what you said, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not understanding it. Sorry. Steve Mays, really glad your voice held up and the coughing took a break. Hope you are doing better. Well, I don't feel real bad, but this thing in the lungs, it ain't going away anytime soon unless I go get antibiotics. That's just the only option I've got, and I just hate to do that. I literally hate it. We're almost out of time. Let me go to these last 2 songs real quick, and if we run over, we run over, Let's go to D. This one's got a 2 chord also. So guess where the 2 chord is? It's the same place it was the last one, which is your E. Okay? So it's got 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, and it'll have a 2 chord. All right, so I'm going to do a turnaround on this one. This one's called Some Old Day. I've been working out in the rain, tied to a dirty old ball and chain. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some sweet day they'll turn me loose from this dirty old calaboose. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some old day, you'll wait for me and pray. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some sweet day they'll turn me loose from this dirty old calaboose. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Okay, again, now this one, It doesn't violate any rules, but you don't notice the power in this one, the way they put the melody of the song together. It's not quite as distinct when you're going from the 2 to the 5, but you're still going from 2 to 5, just like you do any other time you go to a 2, you're still going down to a 5. It's just that it doesn't push the song up as much just because they wrote the melody slightly different, if you will. But otherwise, it's exactly the same. All the rules apply, just like I told you. So let's do it one more time. I've been working out in the rain, tied to a dirty old ball and chain. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some sweet day they'll turn me loose from this dirty old calaboose. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some old day, you'll wait for me and pray. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some sweet day they'll turn me loose from this dirty old calaboose. Oh, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Yes, dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Okay, so there you go. We got one more song to do for you, and this is another song that I wrote. This has been the most requested song that I've ever written. I was told by one DJ that this was the most requested song he had on his radio show for many months in a row. So I hope you like it. It's called Grandpa's Old Fiddle. It's in D. It's got the same chords as we just played there, and just in a different order. An old battered case, weathered and worn, with the hinges all rusted and the fabric all torn, but still cradled inside was one old precious thing. It was Grandpa's old fiddle. Oh, how sweetly it rang. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melodies. Here comes the 2. He played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. He was the most honest man, and I never have seen, and his time on this old earth was most precious to me. Well, he lived on the Current River at the mouth of Blue Springs, and at night the hills echoed as his old fiddle would ring. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melodies, 2-chord. He played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. I was just a boy at the time, but I remember one day when Grandpa and the old fiddle some old tunes he did play. But now Grandpa, he has left us for heaven above, but he left me that old fiddle, and now I play it with love. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melodies, and he played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he it with love. And I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. Yes, that old fiddle's still ringing up in heaven above. Well, that's going to conclude the lesson for this evening, but we will go through the comments real quick and see if we can find anything here, so I'm in no big hurry. Let's see, moving on down here. I'm going to keep going where I'm at, and then I'll go back to the top and see if I missed anything. Kim Williford says, I love this song. Well, thank you, Kim. Lewis Guile says, awesome, thank you. Great song by David Tharp. Kim Williford, Dalton, if you meant that question for Jerry, please put question marks in front of the question. I'll go back up and see if I can see where he put a question. And I don't right now, but maybe I'll see it later. Thanks for the lesson by Brian there. So let me move up to the top and just see if I missed anything, because I don't want to miss anybody. Let's see. And Kim says she enjoys the lessons. Beautiful song. Call it home. I call it home. Yeah, that's about as good as it gets. That's a beautiful song. I didn't write that one, you understand, but I haven't written any like that. That's a great song. What fingers on the F string? Okay, we talked about that. So maybe we've got them all then. David Tharp says, great lesson, Jerry. Thanks so much for sharing your insight. You're welcome. Kim Williford again. Yeah, okay, that was that strumming thing. I'm going to pass on that one. I'm looking for whoever you said. I don't see that Dalton. I think it was Dalton. I don't see Dalton above here anywhere. Maybe I'm missing it. Well, I don't see it. So Dalton says, where can I buy a Rosa mandolin at the end down there? Well, you can't anymore, Dalton, I don't think. Well, actually, I take that back. Seems like somebody just recently asked me if they could bring me their Rosa mandolin back. Somebody did. And I said, yeah, I'll take it back and sell it for you, auction it off. So there's one coming, I think, but I'm not, for the life of me, I can't remember who it was that said it now. Anyway, there may be one coming. And if it's the guy, I think it was Robert, boy, I can't think of the last name. But it was a good one. It was a good one. You'll like it yeah, it's a good mandolin. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. Moving down. Walt Wolder says, great song. Ronald Todd, thanks, Jerry. A bit mind-boggling tonight. High replay later and catch up. Okay. Yeah, it's not, let me back up the truck. I keep saying it's easy. What I'm showing you is not very complicated. It's the lesson itself is not very complicated. Music is complicated. There's no doubt about that. So I'm not making fun or light of the fact that music's hard to play. It's kind of hard to play. But the easiest way to play it that I know of is the way I'm showing you. There's no easier way. I don't think you can find an easier way. So, that's the best I can do for you, and I'm hoping you can comprehend it. And I think if you go through it a couple more times, you'll be fine. Let's see. David Tharp, fantastic, great lesson, good music, thanks. Audio Murphy, how is your health? Rosa, are you well and able? We worry. I'm fine. This is a normal thing for me. This is not like some cancer thing. Well, I shouldn't say that because you know how that is. But it's, I've had this a billion times in my life. And I say that it's 40 or 50 times. I mean, I really have. I've had it a bunch of times, sometimes 2 times a year. Over the last several years, I've stayed on my allergy medicine really strongly, and I haven't had it. And thank God I didn't get it. That was the first year I did not get it, and I'm not kidding you. It was the first year I did not get it was the COVID year. Now, I got COVID that year, and I was telling everybody, I said, if I get COVID on top of my annual respiratory thing, I will die. I know I will die. So I'm really hoping right now I don't get COVID because I think it would do me. I think it would do me in. But fortunately, when I got COVID, it was very light touch for me. In fact, it wasn't even half as bad as this. This is an allergy thing. It goes straight to my lungs, and it just does. Now, the reason I think I got it on top of, even though I'm still taking my allergy medicine and all that, the reason I think I got it this time is because I've been doing so much work on that cedar. And I really think cedar is one of my main allergies. And, building that water wheel house. And I had so much cedar dust and stuff, and I wasn't good. I didn't wear a mask all the time, I can't stand wearing masks because I breathe through my mouth, and it just is humid moisture instantly, and it drives me nuts. I hate that. But I tried to wear it anytime I was doing anything that was real dusty, though, after that. But by that time, I'd already got this. So there you go. Well, anyway, moving on down. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. It's just one of those things it has to wear off here. But thanks for asking. Let's see. Lewis Giles, how about a concert one day with a fiddle? With a fiddler. Okay, well, we might try that. We had a fiddle in our last live concert, you understand. I don't know if you saw that or not, but our last Rosa Stringworks live concert, which was a week ago, last week, Thursday night, we had our fiddle player here. And I say our fiddle player. She used to be my fiddle player for a number of years in my band, but we're so far apart that she doesn't really play in the band anymore. But Patty Chandler, and we will be auctioning off two of Patty's dad's fiddles. Her dad made fiddles, and these are basically brand new fiddles, if you will. I mean, they've been played, don't get me wrong, but very minimally, because Patty's the only one that plays them. And so they've been played by Patty, I'm sure, but they're just like brand new. And so we'll be auctioning those off here before very long. I just have to find the time to get it put together. That's the problem. So be watching for that, because they're good fiddles. And if you want a fiddle, this would be a good place to get one. These are good fiddles. And they're really pretty, too. They're really nice. They're definitely a cut above these kit fiddles that you can buy on Amazon. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking those fiddles, those kit fiddles on Amazon. A lot of them are very good. And for the money, they're especially good. But this is a cut above that. And so they're going to cost a little more. They should cost a little more. But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's see. Kim Williford, Lewis, the concert last week had a fiddle. Yes, thank you for telling. Let's see. Kim, was it live on here? Yes, it was. It was live on here on this same channel. So you should be able to find it. It's just a week ago. I don't remember what I call them exactly, but it's like RSW live concert, pretty much like that. If you search on RSW live concert, you'll find a bunch of them, actually. And there's been several with fiddles, but the most recent one definitely had a fiddle. Let's see. Moving on down, any more questions? Looks like I'm all the way down to David Tharp, I think. So let's see here. David says, thanks, Jerry. You're a good man. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, I hope you got something out of it. Now, next week, and I'm planning to have a lesson next week. Now, next week, assuming everybody thinks we're ready, and you can tell me during the vlogs this week, between now and next Thursday, you can tell me in the vlogs, the daily vlogs, whether you think we're ready for this or not. But I think I'm going to step it up yet another notch, and we're going to put in minors in the next. So we're going to mostly every song we're going to play next week, at least right now, is going to have a minor in it, at least one minor in it, and we will eventually work up to some very complicated songs. We're not there yet. I mean, these are not moderate. These are not beginner songs necessarily. These are moderate, intermediate-like level, if you will, and better than that, really. And but the ones we're getting ready to do, they're going to be another step up. They're going to be on the upper end of the intermediate level, and then we'll move up to the quote-unquote professional level toward the end. As professional as I can be, which is not all that professional. So there you go. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. We will see you tomorrow morning with another, or not tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. And I'm planning to keep the vlogs at 1 o'clock. I like that a lot better. It works my schedule way better because I'm a morning person. I get a lot more done in the morning than I do if I have the vlog in the morning and do the work later. So I get a lot more done in the mornings. So I'm planning to keep my vlogs at 1 o'clock for the foreseeable future because I just have learned to really like that time frame. So we will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Be there or be square, as they say.